Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Meet the Devs. I am Carl Quinton, the Production and Technology Director for the CGA. My guest today is Juan Grill, Executive Producer for FlowPlay. And I'm super excited for everybody to be here with me, and I'm super excited to be here myself. After only one day of streaming, we're getting a lot of interest in the show, and I'm currently working on scheduling Simon Sim, the general manager of US Netmarble, and many other people in the games industry to come on the show. Like I said yesterday, I had 3 weeks of content filled out, but that was when I was only planning for 3 days, and now I'm looking at, maybe doing 5 days a week of streaming if I keep getting as much interest as I am in having people on this show. And it's really all thanks to the great followers and viewers of this channel and the members of the CGA. Please keep watching and commenting so we can continue to bring you more information. To quote the X-Files, the truth is out there. We are here to give you in-depth information on the video games industry. No clickbait or chopped up and hyped information. Meaningful and factual, in complete form from the experts themselves. So without further ado, let me bring on Juan Grill. Juan Grill is a longtime friend of mine. I think he was one of the first people I met in the video games industry when I started doing things about 8 years ago. He brings 19 years of experience in the development of casual games and is a CGA advisor for at least 8 or 9 years. I'm not exactly sure your start time, Juan, but We'll start off a little earlier in that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into technology and video games when you were younger? As a kid, were you into playing? Were you, a geek, as we say?
Yeah.
Or how did you get into it?
It's just funny. I mean, the story that I always tell is that I was 6 years old. And my father had a friend who is technophile, was really into all kinds of gadgets and things. And this was in the mid-'70s. And he just came back from the United States and brought something that my dad thought it was going to be fun. Mm-hmm. So we went to his house, and he had a box called Atari 2600, and we sat down and we played a game of combat with my dad's friend. And after 5 minutes of playing it, I turned around to my dad and I said, I want to figure out how to make this. And that's how I turned to be a game designer.
Excellent. So and then after that you started in the so you're not from the United States, you came from Argentina. That's right. Did you go to school to learn computer science? Did you just start your own business? Where did you start from?
So I was coding when I started coding when I was 12, but I never got it very deep into machine code. Like back in the day, you only had the option of either basic or assembler, and if you wanted to make games, you had to learn assembler. Mm-hmm. So I doubled making prototypes in basic, and I did a little bit of machine code, but not a lot, just to optimize certain routines. But truly, what ended up happening is I ended up going to school at the University of Illinois because they had an electronic visualization program. And this electronic visualization program is a combination of art and science, computer graphics and computer science. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about that program was the fact that it gave me both backgrounds. And right. It really helped me in order to later on make games. From there, I come from the casual gaming space. This is one of the things I always say. My first real or full-time gaming job was at Yahoo Games. So I was working in what was casual games back in the day, and then 5 years later, I started my own studio for 12 years. And today, I work for FlowPlay. So I don't have a background into hardcore gaming or AAA gaming. I always worked in casual games.
Right. So I mean, you just dropped into kind of what I wanted to ask you next. What do you do at FlowPlay? You've been there a while now, and you're a game designer / what?
Yeah, my title is executive producer, as you just mentioned. My job every day is to run game production. So we have various teams working on different games, and I supervise the creative part as well as the project management of those games. So we usually have 6, 7 games in production, and those games are plugged into the different virtual worlds that we have. We have 2 worlds that we currently actively maintain. One's called Our World, and it's a world for teenagers, and it also actually teenagers interested in fashion. It's the more specific description of it. And then we have another world called Vegas World, and Vegas World is a world for seniors, so 55 plus. Users who like to play social casino style games, slot machines, bingo, poker, and we continue making new games, and we continue building the community, because also some of the work is I work very closely with Scott Pulse, who's the product manager for the platform, and we come up with ideas into how to help players understand better features, or we work on new features, and also Aaron Hazinski, who's the user experience manager. We all work together coming up with better features to support the world and the games.
Right. Okay. So that's pretty high level description of how you fit into the company itself, and I'm only familiar with the Vegas World product. I'm not familiar with your other worlds as much. But where does FlowPlay fit into the games industry? I kind of understand how Vegas World fits into the casino side of the games industry, but our viewers probably don't. So I'll let you explain that and the other aspects of how FlowPlay fits in.
So basically, we're a community building company, right? We build communities. We started with Our World, and Our World has been successful for 10 years now. And then we decided to make Vegas World 6 years ago, and today is our most successful virtual world. The role we occupy in the industry, and this is my personal opinion, is we're trying to build communication. Games are one of the most interesting forms of communication. They were invented for people to do something while they were hanging out. Basically, what we create here is we create a master tool or a meta structure that contains several games, where you come in and you make friends and you play games together.
Okay, so a social meta experience.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome. So some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about the most have to do with some of the contributions you've made over the years through the CGA, and some of the contributions you're making currently. So let's start kind of in the history. I think it was around 2011. You helped create the Idea Showcase, which eventually turned into the Indie Prize, and it's been a great scholarship program for Casual Connect. And I thought maybe it would be useful for everybody to kind of understand the beginning grounds, your idea behind the Innovation Showcase and Idea Showcase, and why you thought that was important to bring to people at the conference, and how it's turned into Indie Prize, which I think is a great scholarship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing I identified 7 years ago was the fact that we didn't have a venue for the commercialization ecosystem of games. So in other words, if you look at other media industries, like the film industry has film festivals around the world, Sundance, for example. And in Sundance or in Toronto Film Festival, basically movies are nominated and there are winners, and between the nominees and the winners, the distributors are trying to negotiate exclusive distribution rights. Mm-hmm. So they have some form of ecosystem in the way that the successful movies get distribution and they make some money. We didn't have that in games, so I felt that maybe if we create a similar ecosystem where indie developers will come to Casual Connect, bring their games, and will have publishers or distributors interested in those games, that ecosystem will flourish at Casual Connect. So it had different iterations, and it grew into what it is today. And thanks to Julia, especially because she busts her butt off every day, trying to make sure that every good game is represented at Casual Connect, and works really hard to make sure that developers get representation. So we have done a big part of that work of the ecosystem. Is the ecosystem truly working? Not necessarily, right? We know there's some issues, but I think we have done a big chunk of the way.
Yeah, so we're going to have Yulia come on in a few days. I haven't determined exactly which day is going to be open that we can have Yulia come in and give an update on Indie Prize, and how many we're getting over 1,000 applicants a year, and 300 or 400 are getting an opportunity to showcase their games and to compete for prizes and get exposure into the industry and possibly funding or promotion on the stores or many different kind of things that help them advance their game in the industry. So I think that's been a great program, and we'll hear more about that from Yulia later. But the next part I wanted to talk about, which I'm really excited about, are the workshops that you're working on, which take that initial thing that Indie Prize started, and I think takes these guys that are really serious about making video games as a profession and as a business into the next level of being able to be successful in what I consider a pretty harsh and tough environment to continue putting out successful titles and keep generating revenue so that you can keep on in the business. So you've been working on these workshops, and for Casual Connect Kyiv, we had kind of the beta version that went out, and we're kind of revamping it for Disneyland. So do you want to kind of tell people about the format and what information we're covering and that type of stuff?
Absolutely. So the idea of the workshops was that we felt the need back in April when we started working on these workshops. We felt the need that there wasn't an official documentation or official volumes of information from the Casual Games Association for the developer to figure out how to do certain things that are part of the game development. So there are great books on game design, but not necessarily great books on user monetization or player acquisition. There were a lot of topics that we felt that were not clearly documented. And granted, the Casual Games Association for many years have put out tons of talks, and they have been really great speakers during the past Casual Connects who have done a really good job of communicating what needs to be done. Having said that, going through those talks, sometimes it's a lot of work. And also in some cases, you might have somebody who's biased towards certain platform or certain publisher, and we wanted to clean that up. We wanted to have content sponsor. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that there can be information overload if you're trying to go through the YouTube library of Casual Connect talks. I mean, there's over 6,000 talks out there now, and so it's like it's so hard to go through it. So this was an attempt, from my perspective, was to kind of organize and standardize information on being successful as a business.
Exactly. So we put together a program of 4 different workshops, and we presented them in Casual Connect here. And one thing that I did that is different from what is usually done in a talk. In a talk, you have a speaker who has a PowerPoint presentation, and it's just downloading information to people. And what I felt was that it's a one-way system, and it doesn't really allow us to know how much of this information is useful to the audience. And even though we get feedback, we used to get one-to-one feedback instead of group feedback. So one thing that we did is we had content based on what we thought it was going to be useful content for the audience. But at all times, we kept interrupting the presentation and say, what do you guys think about this? Right? Or give us your opinion. Do you do things differently? So the audience was sitting in a semicircle instead of being far away from us. It was like with us, sitting with us. And as we were giving the presentation, we were letting other people speak. We found out a lot of really great information. Number one is developers, at least in Kiev, and I wouldn't be surprised that it's going to be the same case in the other places where we host Casual Connect, are much better prepared than we think they are. Having said that, there's certain things that case studies, for example, or specific examples that could be really helpful. So one of the key learnings that we got from giving these workshops is that we need to go deeper, which is a lot more fun for us than just doing the basics of monetization 101 or the basics of user acquisition 101. We can go much deeper because everybody understands what's user monetization, what's user acquisition, what's player monetization. So we can go much deeper. And one of the things that we're going to do in the next few weeks is we're going to start call for action to call those developers around the world and say, will you be interested in doing a case study of your game on this particular topic? So then we can present as part of the official
we can issue that call for action right now. I mean, on this live stream. I mean, people who want to do that.
Pretty soon, I'm going to have a list of very specific points that I would like people to help us with. And we really want to make this a presentation from the people for the people. It shouldn't be just one person, one expert. It should be a collection of multiple experts. And I've been so pleasantly surprised in Kiev how many times I'm hearing from a developer who is from a really small city in the middle of Serbia who's really doing really great things, right? We live in a very interesting time, right? We're not as centralized anymore. And the more information, the more we can get to know each other. And that's why Casual Connect is being hosted around the world, right? The better we're going to do. And we need to be united. And this is part of what the CGA is doing with the United Education Front.
I think that's a key tenet around the association is that we're here to help all these smaller developers and mid-tier developers and stuff get together, share information and stuff. We're so decentralized. Many of these companies are working as virtual offices and stuff that the association and the conferences are needed in order to have that information sharing that you might get in an office environment, the water cooler talk, that type of stuff. And that's also another reason for this live stream is to continue the conversation outside of the conference so that we can continue to have those exchange of ideas and maybe have a better crystal ball into the future so that we can all be a little more successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and thank you for that great overview of the workshop. And so there's a question that I kind of wanted to ask you. I don't know if I probably should, but a lot of the speakers and advisors, they do this for free. You're not receiving any compensation from the Casual Games Association to do this stuff. All of our speakers take time out of their schedule, pay for their own travel, come to the show, and they're doing this for their own reasons and taking time and money out of their own pockets to do it. For you, what makes you feel the value to do such a altruistic thing, I should say?
Well, two things. Number one is I learn. The more I work on presentations and workshops and papers, the more I question what I know. I believe what this new format that we're doing, I'm going to learn even more because I get direct feedback from the developers who are attending these workshops. And I sit down with developers and I talk to them. If I'm not at the workshop, I'm probably sitting on a table on Indie Prize and the Idea Showcase, basically talking to developers and asking them how are they doing, what their current issues are, what their recent successes are. So I'm trying to meet as many developers as possible. So I do this 4 times a year, and then I bring back home information of things. Hey, you know what? These guys have been doing this. This is really cool, and maybe this is something that we can actually do ourselves as well. So I believe that the competition is based on the quality or the success of your game, not on if you know how to monetize a better user. That doesn't make a difference in terms of your competition. So at the end of the day, actually sharing information allows you to receive information, because that's what sharing is about, give and receive. So for me, that's the most important thing.
So when we were in Seattle, you and Derek and I, we had a little chat about some of your coworkers not understanding the value of coming to the conference and sharing those ideas and stuff like that. Do you think that's something that a lot of people aren't really getting an understanding of, is why a conference like Casual Connect is important for the game industry, for those reasons that you were just listing before, that the sharing of information isn't putting your competitor at an advantage, it's elevating yourself and your people around you at the same time.
Yeah.
So
well, I think that to be fair, there's so many people that used to go to Casual Connect, especially in the last few years, that were not necessarily game developers, and I think that's changing, because there was a lot of industries around casual games that weren't necessarily game making or game publishing or game distribution. So that's going to change. Because the size of the market or the opportunities for the market for those things are not as viable as they used to be.
There was a huge rush of VC that came into the industry that brought up all these picks and shovels that wanted to get in front of game developers and everything, and there was an inundation across the market for these guys trying to. Because there was all these reports coming out that video games are making 75% of the profit on the Gap stores and, all this stuff. And so, the game developers were inundated. And I heard that pretty consistently.
And a lot of game developers got burned out by that. So they weren't understanding what the value of Casual Connect is. But we're changing that, right? We're working now towards changing that, to change the messaging, to change the content, to make sure that we actually, provide something of value for the developer. So, I think that's why, sometimes some of our fellow developers might be like, there's no reason I should go to Casual Connect, right? But we're changing that, so there is a reason for you to go to Casual
There's also the flip side of that, too. And I think it was Jenny or Derek that said this to me, and it was that those picks and shovels are there for a reason. They didn't get VC funding for no reason at all, and we need to find out what that reason is before we disqualify their information for whatever reason, and maybe it doesn't apply to us, but they're getting funding and they're there for a reason, because they have some sort of tech that somebody felt was worth value.
Got it.
But, just kind of the counterpoint to that argument. So anyway.
No, absolutely.
So I've gone through pretty much all the stuff I wanted to talk out, and I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. Your information and advice has been invaluable to me over the years. And before we conclude, do you have any final thoughts you wanted to share, or anything else you wanted to cover?
No, like I said, in the next few weeks, we're going to use the social media, the Casual Games Association social media channels to let people know what we're doing, and how can you help the association. And another thing that we're discussing with Jessica is that in LA, we're going to have a town hall where we were going to invite all the developers, and we're going to show you what we have done, what's our next series of things that we're going to be working on, and give you the opportunity to give us feedback right there on what you think we should be focusing on as an association.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I actually didn't know about the town hall yet, so that's good information. Once again, thank you for coming on, and we'll hopefully have you back on soon.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay.
Take care, mate.